Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Still, today is October 28th. This video won't be up till Tuesday, October 28th. Um, Forgot to do the sitting thing today. So, I was busy and, whatever. A little bit out of routine. But anyways, so there was a part in this video I just made with the Candace Owens thing. And I want to stress this thing here because, I have long since given up the idea that I'm going to know stuff for sure. And most of the stuff isn't worth knowing, right? That the truth community, when it first started, there was an organic element and people were finding real stuff out, based in not believing the official story. But at some point during this last, I don't know, 15 years, not some point, it was something that was a strategy. There was all this disinformation that was released, and then they started to have all of these big events that were, very suspicious. They left all these sort of Easter eggs and things for the truth community people to find as a way just to distract everybody because nothing ever comes of it, right? The truth community has been completely denuded. And so, I don't know whether they're just this incompetent or this is just, this is something that they're doing intentionally, and I don't really care. Like, I just look at it for the entertainment value. Nothing's going to change either way, so I'm not stressed that, I don't need to know. Like, it's not something where I have to figure it out. I mean, it's just, you drive yourself crazy, like that beautiful mind shit, like where you have a wall full of newspaper clippings and string and these various connections. So, case in point, this was something from yesterday or today's video that is going up tonight, and Candace Owens was showing this guy who removed the cameras from behind Charlie Kirk, which was one of the first things I saw from her, and it was going around the internet. Like, she didn't discover it, but she knew this guy. This guy was some private AV guy who was friends with Charlie Kirk that did his own, had this business. I don't know if he was an employee or a separate AV company, but she saw him because she did a number of these college events with Charlie Kirk over the years. And she knew the guy. She got him in her phone contact. So she asked him about why he did all the things that he did. Like, he grabbed the camera, and his story differed from various people. Like, that guy Andrew Colvett said something different. The guy, one of those low testosterone guys that are hosting the show now, and all these various conflicting stories. And he said a bunch of things to her that she claimed to be lies in this one. And the guy realized she's getting suspicious, so he sent her this video of him doing a selfie. And I wasn't really clear on this because I skipped through this video because it's so long, and I missed part of it. Maybe I was doing something else or I wasn't paying attention. But he sent her this video, so she's the only one who has it, right? So this guy had this on his phone, and he sends it to her.
So let's watch that video.
They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. He's dead. God help him.
So it's a bizarre choice, right? Let's see what she had to say here.
That's the first time it was announced, actually, that Charlie Kirk was dead. It's kind of weird. Go ahead, catch your breath. hit rewind, watch it again, watch it over and over again like I did, because you're probably thinking out loud, what the F did I just watch? What's going on? What were Charlie's closest friends and allies and the people that were going to carry on the torch doing? Picking up phone calls they were already on, and filming themselves and prematurely announcing when not a single person could have known that Charlie Kirk is dead. Less than a minute. Declared dead. No instinct to run towards him. No instinct to run further away, maybe because you got to backtrack and go get the cameras a minute after this ends is when he goes and gets the cameras, okay? Rather, let me record me and my reaction, which doesn't actually feel to me to be too distraught, okay?
Okay, so it's pretty fucked, right? This guy is just so fucking weird. But his choice to send this to Candace Owens. So, you know, he said a bunch of things to her. He shouldn't talk to her at all. Because, you know, there is two sides to this thing now. And I'm not saying that Candace Owens is an organic side, because it looks more and more like she's, you know, this is just food for the conspiracy nuts, you know, as they would call them, right? They are putting out a second narrative here because they have to. They just do this thing quite naturally now, right? And that's been my point for a while. Like, you'll never know because you can't really trust anybody, and you really can't trust the information. But it's such a bizarre choice. So all these other people who are, you know, this guy isn't prominent, but he's there. I mean, it's a bizarre choice to record a selfie. Like, why would you do this, right? You know, there's this guy, Gene somebody, and if you guys who are old school truthers know about this guy. But after one of those shooting events, it came out that he was rehearsing his lines. We had a weird video. Like, how did that video even exist, right? Where somebody's videoing him rehearsing his lines, what he's going to say when he gets on the news, right? Just a bizarre thing. And, you know, why does that video exist, right? If they don't want conspiracy theorists, then why would somebody make a video like this? Like, why would this guy do this, like, as a reaction? People are running because you don't know if there's a second shooter. There, you know, and he's going to go grab the cameras. That's his next move. But, like, you know, you would be in a state of shock if you just watched somebody's bleed out in front of you. This guy was on the stage there in front of him, saw the guy get shot, watching the blood gush out of his neck, right? He said, "Hey, let me do a reaction video." Like, what a bizarre fucking choice, right? And, you know, people are so fucked in the head right now, and they're so stupid, you know, dumb fuckistan and dumb fuckville. It's hard to even, you know, you can't overestimate the ability of people to do weird shit. And not just dumb, but crazy. Like, just really crazy, right? So you never know what people are going to do, but if somebody gets shot, like, he's not doing this as a live video. He didn't go on Facebook and put this on his live feed. He did this in his own phone, like he wanted an alibi. It makes the guy look guilty. He did a number of things, and then when Candace Owens asking him questions, and the more questions she asked him, the more suspicious she got. She claims that she believed that Turning Point was 100% kosher, you know, valid. That she wasn't questioning Turning Point, but this was part of the reason, because this guy said all kinds of shady shit, right? She caught him in a number of lies and weird excuses, like he didn't want to send her the video because he didn't want to get hacked by Google, like stupid shit like that, right? And so, like, it's, you know, this leading up to this, she talks about all of his excuses. And then when she starts getting suspicious, he's like, well, I have that video in my hip pocket that I was going to send to somebody. And she's the worst person to send it. She's got over 2 million views already on the first day of this video. And it's not the last time she shows this thing. It's going to make the fucking circuit, right? It's bizarre. It just more, you know, it looks like this guy had pre-knowledge of the event. And he strategized, okay, when this happens, I'm going to make a selfie video. And I have it in my phone so people in the moon suspect that, you know, that I'm accounted for. And, you know, this whole thing, right? When he removed you know, people are talking about the thing being a hologram. So, you know, that he removed a hologram machine that looked like a camera or one of these expensive $20,000 hologram machines. So who the fuck knows what happened, right? I mean, nobody will ever know because they'll never tell you the truth. And there's just going to be so many different theories in these things. But it just looks wrong. Like, just why would he do any of these things? He saved this video for the one person who's going to go after Turning Point and call bullshit on the official story. He sent it to that person. It's going to make him look horrible. I mean, they're going to have to distance themselves from this guy. Because they'll say, well, this is just weird, one weird fuck. Turning Point will cut ties with them. No one will hire the fucking guy. There'll be something like that, right? They'll just make it, well, like this, he doesn't speak for all of us. Like, that was a weird thing for him to do. And they could say it was just his personal choice. But why would he send it to her? Like, that's the biggest question. It seems like, if she's getting suspicious, you think sending this fucking video is going to make you feel innocent, right? Or is he just some kind of CIA operative, and as she, and they're just putting out all this disinformation to keep the conspiracy theorists, the people who don't buy the official story, occupied. And so, like, that's where we're at right now, where both of those things are very valid theories, right? People are so fucked up that he could have made all these choices and idiocracy and just done this on his own. That's how stupid and fucked up people are. Or he's a part of some sort of plan, conspiracy, and this is just disinformation they're putting out to distract people. So either way, that's where we're at, right? Like, it's really fucked. Anyways, she's got a second video out tomorrow or tonight, and I'll start covering that tomorrow when I get an opportunity. I'll put it up Thursday morning, which will be this video, so it'll be, there's some other things I want to get to as well. And why the sunglasses, dude? I mean, he looks like a fucking human turtle with sunglasses. Like, just bro. The fucking little Horton here's a Who hairdo here. Like, just fuck, bro. It's just, Whoville. All right. So I'll start watching that video tomorrow, and I'll see if there's anything more to add here. Okay. So, the other thing is she is piecemealing this information out. And she says it's because she makes claims. This is what Alex Jones, this was a whole thing. Alex Jones, when shills show you other shills, or if somebody shows you a shill to validate them, right? When they're looking for a shill to validate them, it's always very suspicious. And she just, takes this information, or she says things, and then the opposition will say things about her, like those emails aren't real, those text messages aren't real, or some other things like that. And then they find out that they are, or she has proof that they are, and she then reveals them, and she catches them, right? Like, she gets them to react to her thing, and then, which is, she's done this apparently for years. Like, I haven't watched her before, but she does this, these people should know because she worked with them. And she's been doing this shit for years, and she's doing it now, and they keep on giving her information or giving her what she wants. So, that's suspicious. And then she just is slowly releasing this information. And it's keeping the story going, but, like, there's no end in sight because the official powers that be aren't going to listen to any of the things that she's saying or any of the other people are saying because that's what they have to do. They're never going to validate these things. And they're just going to go along and convict that patsy or whatever else they got planned for that shit, right? That's how they do it. But there was a part of the video from yesterday or 2 days ago. Today for me, I'm still Tuesday, so I just took a look at this thing. But I'll start watching the rest of this tomorrow. I don't know how much I'm going to bother covering. It's pretty, like I said, we all know it's, the official story is not believable. The Patsy story will never be believable again. Like, I don't have to know anything else but a singular shooter, Patsy. I'll never believe that. Like, pretty much the official story is any of these events, I'm not going to believe it. Who gives a shit whether I believe it or not? Or you believe it or nobody believes it. They'll just say this is the truth and believe it or not. This is like what they did in 1984. And yeah, you guys, if you say anything about it, we'll punish you. That's how they'll go. Like, they'll do these things that are obviously lies, and then they'll make you regurgitate the lies, even though everybody knows they're lies. That's what we're dealing with here. So it doesn't matter whether you believe something or not, because you don't have any we don't have any leverage in this situation, and they're not looking for. I mean, voting isn't real, so, and that's about some of the only boycotting and voting and a few other things, but really none of these things are really, are real. But so she was covering this guy, Mikey McCoy, who was on the phone when Charlie Kirk got shot, and he ran on the phone and was talking to people. And so it looks really suspicious. This other guy I just showed you, these were the two stories that she covered after a vacation. And here.
All right, you guys. So here's what's going on today. Turning Point USA has issued a statement, a couple of statements actually. For one, they say the reason that Mikey McCoy walked away so swiftly after Charlie got shot is because Charlie himself told Mikey to do that. Charlie somehow drilled into Mikey McCoy's mind exactly what he should do in that circumstance. Are you buying that?
Okay, so he told him to run away and be on the phone immediately. In fact, whilst the bullet's still coming into Charlie's neck, pick up the phone and be on a phone call already, and walk away. So there's that's weird, right? Just a little follow up, But again, there's no accountability. We live in a system without accountability because all the system has been captured, right? I mean, you have a small country with no real power or resources that has somehow worked it that they would get billions of trillions of dollars from America and then use that money to buy politicians and, do things to intimidate people and to blackmail people and Jeffrey Epstein people and all that kind of shit. And then they have control over a country much bigger than them. And, they've got the media, they got all these things. That's just one, that's one group. I don't want to make that like that's the only thing. It's just one of many things that show you there's no accountability. The system has been rigged and it is, corrupted, and there's no going back. There's no unraveling what has been done here. I've said this over and over again. It's just, it's too wrecked, right? It's too corrupted. It can't be made whole because the system now feeds on corruption and evil. You take away the evil and corruption, the system collapses, right? You take away the lies of the debt-based system, all of it. We're living in an upside-down system, an inverted system, where it feeds off of lies and deception and things. And you take those things away, and the thing collapses. You take the debt-based money away, and money is debt. So debt is money. So you get rid of the debt, and there's no money. And you can't get rid of the debt because it's too big, right? So it's like the whole thing's fucked. Okay, it's Wednesday, the 27th of October. This video will be up tomorrow morning, which you guys will already know because that's the only way you're going to hear this is if you're watching it. So Candace Owens gets into some dream stuff, which I'm going to show you in a moment, and how her and Charlie had handlers and a bunch of stuff. So it's actually kind of interesting in terms of all these things. And I have some things to say about it. But this tall drink of water, this dude here, Laura Loomer, went on InfoWars. And I think it's over the Jeffrey Epstein stuff or Israel stuff. But she's, doesn't have an audience. So I don't know if she ever had one, right? Like she's a manufactured shekel taking, she's really one of the biggest Israel supporters. Like Charlie Kirk and Trump are shekel takers. Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro are shekel taint lickers because they're Jewish people who are into this whole thing, right? They're Zionists. And so, they are created, whereas the Trump and Charlie Kirk are goy who are selling their own people out, right? They're selling the other goy out. So this here.
What are they doing? I want to know what people are actually going to do. My life is ruined. Does anyone understand how ruined my life is? I'm sick of it. I don't want to listen to people tell me that I'm a conspiracy theorist. It's not going to stop the fact that I've lost 90% of my income.
She got loomered. She's lost 90% of her income. Now, I am mildly interested in what subject she's talking about here. But, she's been a disaster. But she has, all the people that have sheckled her have bailed on her. Because she's clearly sheckled. She's a sheckled creation. And so they've bailed on her, those billionaires that were supporting Charlie Kirk and all these people, they've bailed on her. She has no way of making income. And she's just so obnoxious, right? I mean, freeloomer.com. So she's just, that can't be true.
That's not going to stop the fact that I literally can't make a living anymore, even though I have a degree.
Well, with that face and voice, she looks like Fran Drescher, like the Fran Drescher gone like evil, like the evil nanny.
I was valedictorian in college. I graduated top of my class in my journalism program.
Why didn't it take?
I'm sick of it. I'm fighting harder than most conservatives. I'm fighting harder than anybody. And I'm being destroyed. And they mock me and they say I'm some crazy. Life is unlivable at this point in time. Like,
you want to explore that. Maybe you should explore that. But
what is the point? I could potentially live 75 more years. You know what I'm saying? And like my life now, I have to worry about getting murdered by leftists and Muslims.
Oh my God. All right. So that's, just silly. It's the conservatives that are out to get you now. It's the Charlie Kirk people. It's the Candace Owen people. You're, whatever. It's funny because Alex Jones had this very similar rant where he goes on a rant and says things about how he, and I have it, I'll show you the meme in a second. But he goes on this rant where he says, what it's like to know that the people that you work for are going to kill you someday, right? It's so very similar to what happened with Charlie Kirk. I have all my Alex Jones stuff. I'm just going to show you that one clip. But she went in InfoWars and almost the exact kind of thing where, she got shackled up and she's cool with Israel. Let me show you the Alex Jones memes and then we can get to Candace Owens.
You know what it's like to go to sleep every night knowing you work for a bunch of psychotic killers and you bastards are probably going to end up killing me one day? You know what it's like knowing you've ruined my life? You know what it's like, you sons of bitches? I'm tired of your crap!
You know what it's like to go to sleep every day knowing you work for a bunch of psychotic killers that's probably going to kill you one day? You bastards, you ruined my life. I want to quit. I want my 401k. Let me get out of this contract.
So this happened with Candace Owens.
Retrospectively, it would never be the same again. It was indeed a paradigm shift. I mentioned to you guys yesterday that I remember that we both watched Scott Adams. I did not know who he was at this time. Again, I was very green and I'm not an overtly political person. So I didn't know who Scott Adams was, but I remember vividly watching him draw on a board and explain to his very many followers that something much bigger had taken place and that people needed to pay attention to this tweet for almost cosmic reasons. Let's take a listen to what Scott Adams said on that day.
What did he...
Okay, so she talks about her dreams quite a bit, and her and Charlie had these vivid dreams, and dreams are important. I talk about the spiritual realm. So, she is one of the most people who is on the cusp of spirituality. She's on the brink of it. I got some great comment some guy was trying to tell me about the whole son of Jesus thing. Son of God thing, Jesus. And so she's talking about how her and Charlie were manifesting this thing with Kanye. And she mentioned this maybe in her last video where they were both into Kanye. I've talked about how Kanye is like a, actual genius, but that there's, I have a master's in counseling, and I went to this kind of new age school in Santa Fe, New Mexico that had an art therapy program and a counseling program. And it was a good program to go through in terms of they really did a good job of getting into the different models of counseling. Like I experienced, it was experiential school, and there was, you did you counseled from that therapy model, so you understood how each therapy model works. So they're quite different. And the first major, they had this major core classes, and the woman running the school was this little, PhD woman. Like she was, so it was like probably 60 and like small. And she was, I liked her. She was, smart. She was a good professor. But they had this core class, and we had to do this project at the end of this thing that was about creativity and madness. And I picked Bobby Fischer because one of the guys who does the meditation was a chess player, someone I talked to, and he said, "Oh, you got to do Bobby Fischer." Because Bobby Fischer, if you've seen the movie, A Pawn Sacrifice, I think it's called, and he became kind of a crazy truther, like just not, back in the 60s, right, when that was a fringe thing. But, people loved my presentation because Bobby Fischer was just great. Like, he was a great example of this. But what it was like all these people who were considered creative geniuses, people who are considered geniuses, creative geniuses, often were crazy as well. They were, the creativity and madness was the lessons there. And the people all did these presentations, and it was amazing. Like, it was amazing, all these people who were famous people, and some of their mental illness. They had this kind of it helps people connect and channel information and art and inventions and things, because in the Sajmark Whispers of the Brighter World, this French woman who channels messages, Babaji, the second master of the system, who's been dead since 1983, has basically said that almost everything that's great, pretty much everything has been channeled in one way or another. And so one way we connect with the spirit world is dreams. And Kanye West is a good example of creativity and madness, right? Somebody who, he's put out some kind of niche stuff, and he's kind of funny. He's like a unintentional comedian. But they had this relationship, and they were listening. Her and Charlie Kirk were listening to Kanye all the time. And this is when they were just getting started. And what they said was they believe that they manifested Kanye West saying that he was, and Charlie Kirk was going to get them to meet Kanye, right? And of course, he was up there in Wyoming or wherever it was, Montana. And, this was the Kanye when he ran for president for one day. You remember that? He broke down and cried, told his daughter that he really pushed Kim Kardashian to abort her, even though he's against abortion. And like, he just broke down and it's like, he ended up getting divorced, and because of his presidential run, he wore a bulletproof vest and all these things. But Candace Owens is talking about how they manifested this tweet that Kanye did, that he said he liked the way that Candace Owens thinks, and that changed everything for them. Like, they started to pop, and she's on the cusp of spirituality, but she talks about gut, and the gut is not responsible for your relationship with God. It's your heart, and very few people develop their heart, right? Some people they start realizing there's a spiritual, or lots of people understand there's a spiritual realm, and that there's a spiritual aspect, but they try to use that for their material gain. And so, like, they're aware of spirituality, but they're trying to use it to make their lives better. And, a true spiritual person has to submit their ego and their egotistical pursuits to do their spiritual work, right? But, she's kind of on the cusp of it. But, the stuff with the dreams and these other things, and then not really understanding the importance of the spiritual life. But here, let's get into this here.
He tweeted, "I like the way Candace Owens thinks."
So I didn't know who this guy is either. She says she's just a newbie at this time, and I'm like, yeah, so nobody knows who this fuck guy is.
7 words. And he ripped a hole in reality with 7 words.
7 words. Those 7 words ripped a hole in reality. The hole was ripped in reality. He's breaking it down.
Because Kanye is supposed to be over here. And Candace is supposed to be over here.
No way. The reality is being ripped because they're two different. They're on 2 different fists.
And they're not ever supposed to say the other one said something, right? All right? That's not supposed to happen.
It's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to. It's not supposed to happen.
But Kanye did it anyway.
He fucking did it anyway. Because Kanye never says anything fucking weird and never does, does anything.
Kanye knows history doesn't repeat. He's not a prisoner of the mind. He knows that the problem is not the solution. Whatever you want to say about Kanye's politics, and I don't even know what his preferred politics would be. I'm not even sure what party he would run for it if he ran for president at this point. Whatever else you want to say about him, and I don't know enough about
He did run for president.
his actual, management skills or political ability, but he did something that you could rarely see. He actually just altered reality. He just made the entire conservative Twitter.
These guys really think they have self-importance. That's the problem with all these people. And I'll get into this with Candace and stuff. I mean, the way she was talking about her and Charlie. The name of this video is Charlie Kirk ripped a hole in reality. It's not that big a fucking deal. You can't overestimate your influence. Fame and being successful do not equal anything. They're not, they have no value on the spiritual field of existence. If that's something that's in your destiny, they didn't rip a hole in reality. This is just their destiny, right? Because, Charlie and her were having dreams and they feel like they manifested this tweet with Kanye because they were listening to him and they were connecting with him. It's a whole thing she talks about. And she gets into her dream stuff, which is great. Your dreams are important. It's a way for God to communicate to you. But it was all with this idea that they would somehow build what they built personally. Her with her following now and her millions of views and followers, especially now with Charlie Kirk thing. She's the only one covering it in a way that most people care about. And Charlie Kirk and Turning Point, which of course he got shackled up, right? And, they got Trump elected. And we all know what's happened there. Trump's a worse piece of shit than anyone imagined. Trump is overperforming his piece of shit stuff. We didn't know it was going to be this bad. I never would have guessed. I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. And I know from the whispers of the brighter world to my personal, belief system that things are going to start getting shitty, right? There's a meteor that's about to hit, the world or whatever, something like that. There's all kinds of shit going on. World War III. I mean, it's going to happen. These things are unfolding. You can kind of see it, and things are getting worse fast. So, it was easy to predict that Trump was going to go full Trump, but no one thought it was going to be this bad. No one thought Israel was just going to be right in everybody's face, just fuck you to the world, right? Of course, there's biblical prophecy, so they're all going with that, thinking that they're the ones that are going to come out. The only way you could go into the situation that you're going into is to believe in a bullshit biblical prophecy from a bullshit religion and believe that you're going to come out on top, that the world's going to come down on Israel, but somehow Israel's going to escape it because they're God's chosen people. That's not fucking true. So, they're going under complete false beliefs, right? They're getting lumbred. And so this idea that what's being done here, what Charlie did as a person, or what TPUSA accomplished and what she accomplished is some big deal. It's not a big fucking deal, right? Just because a lot of dumb fucks watched you, you're not affecting change. You're not changing destiny. You're not ripping a whole reality, right? Because Kanye was never a Democrat. He liked Trump. He wore a fucking MAGA hat. And so
Twitter sphere just goes something like this. It's like your head just went, what did I just see?
when Kanye started praising Hitler, remember that? Did he rip a whole reality then?
Did I really see this? Now forget about, which of these views you like the best. That's not even the story. Forget about whether you think Candace has everything right or everything wrong. That's not the story. The story is that these two people that shouldn't be in the same conversation in 7 words, Kanye just changed that. And he just freed a lot of people from a mental prison.
He did. He just freed them. They were in mental prisons, and then when he said that. You know, the other thing is you can't change people. Like, you can't change things. Like, people are just going to do what they're going to do, right? No matter what you say, no matter what kind of example you set. Like, this has been the bane of spiritual existence, because there's been higher developed souls. And when people get around them, and I'll talk about this at the end, because somebody asked me why I call it gratefulness and not heartfulness. Someone, you know, stopped watching my videos for a while or whatever and came back and was wondering what happened. And what happened was heartfulness became a cult, and I'll talk about this when I read the comment at the end. I've already read one comment. I want to read that one as well. Which is, you know, speaks to all these things. And there has been wonderful spiritual people. If you get the chance to be around a higher developed soul, like a spiritual master, it's transformative. Because you see, you know, you can get an essence of what a human being can become. And, you know, a saint or a higher developed soul. And, you know, whatever Jesus was, he definitely had moved spiritually. And he was higher than these other people. And, you know, people started to see, well, this guy has something going on. And, you know, and they turned on him and killed him, because that's fucking, you know, that part of the world is fucked anyway, right? With this kind of political and, you know, just material aspect of, you know, divinity, and religions don't want to give up their power. You know, religions have killed more saints than anybody else. I mean, when a saint gets killed or gets ostracized, it's because of the religion, right? And so, you know, like, that's fucked, right? Anyways.
Kanye, in 7 words, unlocked a mental prison and is bringing you to the golden age.
It's the golden age coming around.
I look back on that and I find that clip to be really fascinating. And here's what I would tell you that happened thereafter in short order, because it was definitely something. I believe, and I'm saying this retrospectively, that from that moment onward, Charlie and I were assigned handlers. Okay, this is an expression that Kanye used to say, have a handler. I thought that he was just saying that. I thought that he was referring to just Hollywood. I now very much believe that I have had handlers since 2018. And that things were done intentionally to pull me and Charlie apart. Now, I'm going to tell you how I remember it in no particular order, okay?
So, you know, she said Charlie Kirk ripped a hole in reality. But, you know, the thing is this is just your samskaras. This was part of your destiny. This is part of your soul's plan, right? That they're going to become famous and become something. Charlie sheckled the fuck up, and she was sheckled with him, right? Because she got, you know, her handlers that she's going to talk about are people of, you know, Zionist people. And, you know, and Kanye complained about that as well, right? That's what Kanye was saying and stuff when his rants about Jewish people. And so there are people that are, when you become famous, they have to make sure that you know what to say and what to not to say. And once you cross over into that realm where you're in what I call the show, you're fucked, right? You're just fucked. You know, you're now they're censoring you, or they want you to self-censor, and money is involved and pressure and all these things. And so you can tell when a person like Joe Rogan, when he talked about ivermectin and, you know, COVID stuff, when everybody comes down on you, right? When all the media is told you got to come down on this person. You know when somebody has crossed the line, somebody who's in the show who is saying something or doing something that they don't want. Or maybe the person's doing it as an acting. That's part of their role that they're playing. And they want to see everybody come down on them, right? You know, they set an example for everybody else. They set an example for the people they're trying to control. And they set an example for all the dumb fucks out there. Oh, this is wrong behavior. See, this person's saying things that shouldn't be said. This person's bad, right? This kind of thing. This is what they're You know, it's a very remedial kind of system.
I tweeted back at Kanye and I said, please take a meeting with us. And before I could hear directly from Kanye's people, I heard from David Horowitz of the Freedom Center. He's the one that first invited me when I was going viral on YouTube to speak at his conference. You should also know that he is the father to Andreessen Horowitz, the one that Bibi Netanyahu is insisting should, or the stepfather to. He wants Andreessen Horowitz to be a part of this group that buys TikTok because, and this is relevant, they think it's important for warfare, psychological warfare in the future. It's relevant. He was very nice in his message to me, said, oh, my son knows Kanye, and I would like to facilitate that meeting. Suddenly they get Eric Weinstein involved.
Look at this guy. Look at this fucking wonderful person. Eric Weinstein.
And he reaches out and he pretends that he wants to be a friend to me. He's a bad person. I can tell you that right away. And I
Is he? Because he doesn't look that. Like, you would never guess that.
learned that very quickly. But at the time, Charlie and I, we were pro-Israel. That's, I think, kind of relevant. And we were just so amazed.
But I thought you were, in your last video, you said you're always on the side, you were on the side of the good guys. And you guys fucking weren't, right? Like, you know, you guys, they were in this exciting time where they were breaking through into the show. And, you know, and if Charlie could rip a hole in reality, why didn't he stop his murder from happening? Where the fuck has happened to him since, right? Whatever that thing is. And so, you know, it's, it doesn't matter. Like, you think that you've reached a goal of fame and fortune, and they had some success getting Trump elected, which was going to happen no matter what. Like, do you think there's going to be Kamala Harris who was going to be president? Does anybody think that was a possibility? You know, there's people who run for president on the opposing party have zero chance of ever being president. There was no way Kamala was going to be president. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't, like, she has no popularity. She has no passion behind her. Like, at least Joe Biden had something, right? He had, you know, something, like, but Kamala Harris didn't have it. And so she was not going to be president. She was there so Trump could be president, because we see what Trump's done, right? I mean, support of Israel just alone, and never mind all the other bullshit that he's doing to take America down.
I have a tweet that we thought all of these people, like, this was just our moment, as in they really did just want to help. Another player in this was Rick Rubin. Yeah, the big music industry, Rick Rubin, also got into the mix and wanted to facilitate certain meetings. I took it, again, as a sign of help. On the Turning Point USA side, Tyler Boyer, who I could do a whole episode on, it's actually, he's more so relevant that I can't fit him into just one episode. He was with the only person that was with Charlie before. He introduced him to every person that Charlie knows. He starts hiring a bunch of people, telling Charlie that we need to hire bigger and more professional money raisers, PR people like Andrew Colvett, you name it. And
so these were all his shills. Like, she always talks about that guy. You know, because when you become somebody who has, you know, once they put a microphone in front of you, they got to make sure that you're going to say the things that, you know, that they need you to say. And they got to make sure that you're the kind of person that when you know what's best for you in terms of, you know, threats and bribes. Like, they have a way. That's why people don't understand that there isn't these rooms where they make plans, like the idea of even like the Skull and Bones. Like the Skull and Bones, they teach them the basic principles of the game and what side they're supposed to be on and how to know what they're supposed to do. So they never have to call John Kerry or George W. Bush or any of these Skull and Bonesers. They don't have to call them and give them specific instructions. They have handlers, yes, but they also just are supposed to be able to figure out, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, just they know the game, right? They seem like John Kerry and George W. Bush were running against each other, but they are both Skull and Bonesers. And that guy, whatever his name was, that reporter, Tim Russert, asked them both about Skull and Bones, and then he dies of a heart attack like a couple of years later. You know, so, you know, long enough so that they didn't do it right after he asked the question. But it was, you know, he died young, right?
And it feels like at every moment there were forces that were trying to tell us this is not allowed to happen. Kanye's handlers are telling him, Kanye's got a team of people telling him he's not allowed to be involved in politics. And he's getting angrier and he's getting angrier about that. This is in the time of Kim Kardashian and Kanye. She wanted nothing to do with it, okay? And I've been to their house, and political friends are telling Charlie and I, don't get involved with Kanye because he's crazy. You guys are on a trajectory. Don't speak to Kanye. It's going to backfire in your face. And I'm like, no, we dreamed this. We want him to be a part of Blexit. Like, this is exactly what we wanted. At the exact same time, I felt, and you have heard the story very many times, Charlie has told it, I have told it, out of nowhere, I got this spiritual pull that I needed to go to the UK. Charlie and I had no business in the UK at all. There was no reason for us to go to the UK. There was nothing happening in the UK. I have the messages. I'm like, Charlie, we should go to the UK. I don't know why. I'm getting the vibe. We need to go to the UK. We need to go to the UK. We need to go to the UK. Like, we got to go to London. And we did in the future. But first, dealing with this sort of pressure cooker that kept happening between Kanye, me, Charlie, it was in October, after Kanye had helped me to start designing the logo for Blexit, that Kanye's pressure cooker got too hot. And basically, they told him that he would lose everything, his marriage, this, that, if he didn't abstain from politics after he notoriously went to the White House in the MAGA hat. And he needed to distance from us and, of course, Blexit. And he cracked. I mean, you guys remember this headline. I'm taking you back to 2018. Kanye West distances himself from Blexit and Trump. He says, I've been used to spread messages. Kanye never wrote this statement. One of his handlers did, but he said, my eyes are now wide open, and I now realize that I've been used to spread messages that I don't believe in. I am distancing myself from politics and completely focusing on...
You know, the thing about it is, and going back to this idea of being spiritual, that if you are on a spiritual path, you can't get into politics. And that's why I said early on with Charlie Kirk and all these other people. You can't be spiritual and be a political person. You could vote. You could, do a little bit of something, but you are, negating the ability to change things on a spiritual level. Politics never works. It then always changes people for the bad. Like, politics has gotten worse and worse. And the politicians are more and more, they're just, they're getting more and more idiocracy. WWE, Trump, and Parkinson's Joe Biden. Just senile Joe Biden, and Trump is breaking down mentally, and this is how fucked it is, how divisive it gets. Right? It just gets worse and worse. Politics was never good, even the founding fathers. But if you're a spiritual person, sometimes people in politics are used, and they have, they channel, and there's a spiritual aspect to their existence, but you're trying to fix things politically, and you can't do that. You're trying to fix things through the material world. If you want to transform the world, so I say only spirituality will save this world, which is that's not my thing. That's a Sajmarg Babaji thing, something that he said, which I fully believe, because everything has changed in the spiritual world, and the spirit first, because that's what's important, right? That's why you're here. And if you become a saintly person, you help raise up other people to a higher level. And those people then naturally develop, you yourself and those people develop higher character qualities and then become better people. And then, you're not going to take corrupt money. You're not going to, do bad things. You're not going to murder people. You're not going to, the leadership starts reflecting that. So if you have spiritual people and you have a true spiritual movement, then that's what happens, right? You raise your level of consciousness, and that helps transform other people. But that's not the point, because there's a minor goal in Sajmarg's system of, at the very least, like if you don't reach liberation, you don't reach Layavasta, where you merge with the divine. If you don't reach those two goals, at least don't leave the world a better place. At least don't make it worse, right? You should be leaving it a better place than you found it. And mostly that has to do with your thoughts, like everything. If you're going to manifest things, it starts with your thoughts first. Your thoughts manifest actions, and your actions, manifest things, right? So, but it starts on a spiritual level. If it comes from your intentions are pure and you're connected to the divine, you have divine handlers, you have divine beings that are helping you make the right decisions and connect to the divinity within you, then you can transform the earth in a better way, right? You can leave it in a more positive situation. But the planet Earth is not here we're not here to create a utopia on planet Earth. We're not here to divinize planet Earth. Like that happens that should happen, but it doesn't. It's not the goal. The planet Earth is a third dimensional place where your soul can create a body, where your soul can manifest a body. And then you can get an ego, right? And, an individual persona where you're going to be you're going to be self-absorbed, self-directed. And if you can abstain from the many temptations of the wrong decisions that are there, that are there for you on a material level. If you can abstain from those things, when you can, choose the higher when the lower is so tempting, then you can evolve spiritually. Like, so it's a place where you get to choose. You were given these other choices. When you're a soul, you don't have these other choices. When you're a disembodied soul, you don't have all the evil choices because you don't have a physical body, so who gives a shit, right? You can't feel pleasure. You can't feel power. You can't, you're not in a situation that you are when you're a human being, where there's all these temptations to do the wrong thing. When you're a soul, why would you do the wrong thing? What's in it for you? They talk about that the devil is cast out of heaven. Why would that even happen? Like, if you're in heaven and everything's just cool, and you don't have a physical body, why would you get cast down to planet Earth, right? Only if you're on planet Earth. You have to be on planet Earth to be cast down or choose to. It's not that you're even cast out of heaven, because there's no such thing. Like, you're with God, and all of a sudden you're like, your ego says, no, I want to do what I want to do. So you're not with God anymore. That's what, all that stuff is. But anyways.
Being creative. Now, that was not the most honest interpretation of things, and I reflect on it, and I'm so grateful that I called Mike Cernovich, and I said, like, why is Kanye doing this? Why is he saying this? I have pictures of him standing over the guy, directing him on what he thought was cool with the logo. Like, should I drop them? And Cernovich gave me really sound advice and said, don't. You have no idea what he's going through. And I'm grateful to Cernovich for that, because I now know what Kanye was going through and what that pressure is like, and when they come for your family and come for everything. And it's like, all you have to do is disavow this or disavow that, and everything will go back to normal. So yeah, Kanye, I totally understand it. It makes perfect sense to me why you had to say that. Anyways, I think I was saved. And I look back and I think I was saved by this weird pull that I had to go to the UK.
Okay, so we've heard this story before, where she met her husband who has money and this whole thing. Like he's a billionaire or whatever it is. She's talked about this story. And so, there is some, based on what she's saying, people tell their stories in a way that's favorable to them. But they had some spiritual inclinations. But she's always talking about her gut and not her, your gut is not, your gut is where your lower animal instincts are. And that would maybe serve you okay in politics. But your heart is what you need to develop, right? That's where your soul is, and that's where your higher developed feelings, like your gut is where your emotions are, like anger and fear and these things. Your heart is where your feeling of empathy and love and compassion, love being the most important. And it's through your heart that you connect to God. Your brain, you can't think about God. Your brain is incapable, just like a computer's incapable of feeling God's love. You have to feel God's love. You have to be in touch with the essence of God. The feeling of God, of God's love, when you do the right thing and when you're connecting to God. It's it's transformational. And people who haven't ever felt that, it's something that everyone needs to aspire to. It changes everything. And then it doesn't, because people sometimes like will still go back to doing their bullshit stuff. But these moments where you feel that, and you feel the presence of God, and you know you're doing the right thing and you're on the right path. And you can't feel that with your with your gut. You can't feel that with your mind. You can't think. You can't comprehend God on a mental level. I mean, it needs to be experienced on a feeling level. God does, before you can think about God in the proper way. Because without that feeling, it's just a mystery. It's like the magic eye things, these holograms that are embedded in these pictures. And until you see it for yourself, you kind of doubt that it exists. Like you think everyone else is fucking with you, like it's, until you actually can see that there's a picture hidden within the picture. You can't really, you might say everyone else is talking about it. What is this God that I'm feeling in my heart, right? I mean, people that come and do the Sajmark system and don't feel the transmission right away or at all. My brother was one of those people, and it's a struggle, because as long as you don't feel that, there's no reason to do it, right? Like, you got to feel the transmission for it to be, oh, wow, there is something here. We're not just sitting here across from somebody and they're, like it's just imaginary kind of situation, right? Where they say this thing's going on, but it's not until you feel the transmission. Sajmark system, you sit about 5 feet apart in these preceptors or group meditation. Everybody sits there, and there's a preceptor or the master of the system transmits to everybody, cleans their heart, and then transmits to them again. And this transmission, if you don't feel it, it's like, this thing, well, it's not real. Like, you have to experience it, right? That's why I talk about this. I'm like, you can't force it. Because if people don't feel it, then they don't do it. And if they feel it, then it's like, well, why don't you commit to it, right? And people still don't, and I mean, do it for 20 years and benefit, and it's transformative, and they're like, I'm going to go do something else. I mean, that's what's happening. That's what happens with people. Like, so it's not even a guarantee. But feeling God's love is important. All right, so let's move forward here. Okay, so I'm halfway through the Candace Owens thing. It just sucks to have to, because she has whatever. She has these posts that really aren't things I care about or would cover. But she is talking about how all these people on YouTube and Charlie Kirk himself were surrounded by military and ex-military people. That guy Rob McCoy is ex-military. The reverend that put his 2 sons in to be Charlie's handlers, and some of these other people that were hired. And again, these weren't people that Charlie Kirk hired. He was getting, they were starting to populate his turning point with other people. It's like he had lost control of it. Of course, we started taking the shekels. But all these military people, and she looked across YouTube, and all these people who are getting popular channels were also had some association with the military. So we'll get back. I'm not going to cover that part, but I'm just saying that's what she was talking about. Kind of interesting. So my wife sent me these, and want to talk about this briefly. NASA just silently activated its planetary defense network, and no one is talking about it. Not sure how this isn't being discussed more seriously. NASA has officially activated its planetary defense network, something that's been done that's never been done in the history of interstellar object, and they've done it without any public heads up or clear explanation. That could be a Trump thing, but what this is about is this meteor, right? Mysterious interstellar object arrives tomorrow. NASA losing control of the narrative. A Manhattan-sized object named 3-1 Atlas is racing towards the sun. Right now it's moving in ways that no object should. NASA should quietly added the International Asteroid Warning Network, the first interstellar object ever to make the list. There was this thing called the Nibiru. Like, this is old school truther stuff. This happened in 2012, something like this. And it was around the time of the Mayan calendar saying the end of the world. And there was this idea that we have a possible dwarf star. Like, there's some solar systems that have 2 stars. And that the stars, are... or there's this giant planet that is on a very large elliptical orbit. And it just comes around the other planets and the sun, or it's a dwarf star. and it has a strong gravitational pull, and it wreaks havoc to all the other planets when it comes by. And there was this idea this Nibiru was a extinction level event. And there's this guy who put a video out. I remember it because there's a crazy lady that used to do the Sajmarg meditation, but she was semi-truther. She was like, she had acted out, and she had got kicked out of a preceptor's house for just being inappropriate. She was like a lawyer, crazy lawyer lady. But we were friends on Facebook, and I had watched this video where this guy was talking about this Nibiru, and he was calling them the Illuminati heads, the Illuminati, the Illuminati heads. And there was a discussion about something on like Sajmark people and people who did my meditation, and most of those people aren't truthers, all of them. And she said something about the Illuminati heads, and I knew she had watched that video, right? So it's kind of funny. But this Nibiru thing never came about. But there's some evidence that this could be a real thing, a dwarf sun, a star that is not nearly as big as our sun, but has still, much bigger than the Earth, and it every once in a while comes back around, and you have two suns in the sky. And there's some evidence that they were trying to stop people from seeing a second sun. There's a whole thing there, but it didn't ever come to fruition. And so I'm always suspicious about these type of things. Okay, so this guy, Lee Zeldin, has, see if I refresh this here. EPA releases new online resources giving Americans total transparency on the issues of geoengineering and chemtrails. And so I'm going to try to watch it on YouTube, but if I do it here, they want me to sign in and confirm I'm not a bot. And so here's the video here.
Concerned Americans have urgent and important questions about geoengineering and contrails. The American public deserves and expects honesty and transparency from their government when seeking answers. But for years, people who asked questions in good faith were dismissed, even vilified by the media and their own government.
No way. Who would do such a thing?
That era is over.
It's over. Fucking it's over.
The Trump EPA is committed to total transparency. As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering.
Boom. He's bringing it.
For the purpose of releasing it to you now publicly.
Good. Release that shit.
In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics, and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head on.
Head on, they're fucking meeting them. This guy, head on, Zeldin.
We did the legwork.
They did the legwork.
Looked at the science.
Science.
Consulted agency experts.
Experts.
And pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together.
Okay, so couldn't you just go to the fucking people who are doing the chemtrails and say, what the fuck are you doing? And get them to give you a report of what's going on, and then release the report, and then stop it? Because they're still going on, right? So that guy from, whatever his name is, the guy from Kentucky, don't tell me, don't care, don't need to know. He's one of the guys who stands up to Trump. He's a Republican. And he said that at least the government shutdown that stopped the chemtrails, and my wife and I saw that there were clear skies for a couple of days, but then they came back. So this is a governmental program that doesn't need the federal government to be funding it. Like they're canceling welfare and food stamps, but they're still chemtrailing. And so all you have to do is ask the people chemtrailing and then fucking stop it, right? So if you're not going to stop it, then, great, you're transparent. You're transparently fucking poisoning us. Fucking bravo, Zeldin.
Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there. That means anyone who reads through this information will know as much about these topics as I do as EPA administrator. To anyone who's ever looked up to the streaks in the sky and asked, what the heck is going on? Or seen headlines about private actors and even governments looking to blot out the sun in the name of stopping global warming? We've endeavored to answer all of your questions at the links on your screen. In fact, EPA shares many of the same concerns when it comes to potential threats to human health and the environment, especially from solar geoengineering activities. The enthusiasm for...
Okay, so you're going to stop it? So is that the chemtrails done then? Because they're not done, then fuck you, right? Then fuck you to pretend that you're like one of us and you're trying to get the truth out, right? If you're releasing things and confirming that these things are going on, but they're still going to go on, then you're not stopping shit, right? You know, like you're not a part. You have the power to say this. You're the government. Trump doesn't have the power to say no more chemtrailing. He can't do that as commander in chief. He can't fucking say stop the chemtrailing because I still see them. It's cloudy out today, but I just saw some the other day. And so if they're being stopped, they're being stopped. Well, you should say right now we're going to stop doing it. But you're not saying that because you're a piece of shit. And so don't pretend like you're a fucking truther or you're part of this thing when you're not stopping it.
Experiments that would pump pollutants into the high atmosphere has set off alarm bells here at the Trump EPA. Prior to now, EPA has never been this proactive to raise awareness about concerns with geoengineering and to stop this activity from being scaled up. This is what it looks like when government actually listens to the will of the people and doesn't try to squash it. You could
Well, yeah, you would if you were listening to the will of people, you'd stop fucking doing it, right?
always trust this administration and this EPA to take your concerns seriously.
But not stop the fucking poisoning of your fucking skies.
Answer your questions honestly and carry out the will of voters with integrity.
Okay, so another thing is, you're going to make me read a fucking document, right? You're going to make me go and read this fucking document to figure out what's going on. It's something that you're not going to stop. You're making a video, you could have said, it's this. It's fucking, this is what's happening to the sky. This is what we're doing. And so, if it is something that's bad, then you need to stop it. But you're not stopping it, so fuck you. Okay, so EPA releases new online resources giving America total transparency on the issues of geoengineering. That's where I got this video. There was something else my wife sent me on X, Twitter. It doesn't say anything about it here, right? Americans have legitimate questions on contrails and legitimate questions, but you're not going to stop it, right? EPS also created new online resources specifically on solar geoengineering activities, which involve cooling the Earth by reflecting sunlight back to the space, usually through injecting gases like sulfur dioxide into the upper atmosphere, where they form reflective particles. And so there's this word, right? We've got to figure out is, what that does to people. Surrounding geoengineering, research delves in the current state of science and whatever. And then it just says information about geoengineering and information about chemtrails. And it says here, what are chemtrails? They are CO2 water vapor particles up to exhaust. So, like, he didn't use the word fucking chemtrails. We don't give a shit about chemtrails. And so there's that. So there's that thing. And then they have stuff about geoengineering and nothing, read about a government action and about learning about geoengineering. So they don't really fucking talk about chemtrails. It's not being transparent. And fucking, he didn't even mention the word chemtrails. Chemtrails is not the same thing. There has nothing to do with chemtrails. Chemtrails have existed since there's been planes, right? We know what chemtrails are. They come out back of the plane and they last seconds. The plane has a small tail of chemtrails that disappears. Chemtrails is a cloud-like object that there's a long streaks that become these clouds that when the light refracts through them, it looks like a rainbow, and they're totally fake. You can tell the difference between a chemtrail cloud and a fucking chemtrail and a regular cloud. And so this piece of shit didn't tell us anything. It's just like fucking Trump to pretend that, we're going to be transparent. Then why the fuck are you still chemtrailing, motherfucker? So this is from Gemini. Sulfur dioxide negative health effects. Sulfur dioxide exposure can range from range of negative effects primarily impacting the respiratory system. It's a major air pollutant that acts as a strong irritant, especially for sensitive populations. Irritation and inflammation, wheezing, bronchitis, worsening asthma, acute damage, pulmonary edema, other things, right? Long-term chronic effects, and bronchitis, lung function, increasing susceptibility, whatever that word is. Susceptible, so whatever that is, susceptibility. Respiratory infections, other health effects, cardiovascular issues, heart disease, eye and skin irritation, particulate matter formation. So it does a lot of stuff here. It affects these people, children, older adults, active ingredient. So it is, why aren't they stopping doing it then? If they are so transparent. So like this total Trump shit. Pretending like they're fucking, they're giving you something when they're not. And who knows if that's the only thing that's in it. They're not even specifically saying any of that shit, right? And so they're just talking about geoengineering. Like the whole thing was this stuff here. Where is it? The sulfur dioxide thing they said. Just why can't I find it? Objectives and geoengineering. Straight answers were published in everything EPA knows on the subject. Chemtrails and whatever. Sulfur dioxide. Usually injecting gases like sulfur dioxide into the upper atmosphere. So usually that's what they're doing, right? And so maybe something else, right? Usually, or something like sulfur dioxide, maybe even something worse. People talk about aluminum particles and these things. But, either fucking way, if you're going to come out and say that you're telling us the truth about this, then stop fucking doing it, right? Because otherwise, you're not telling us the truth. That's not being transparent. And he sucks on the other EPA stuff. Trump is destroying the fucking environment. So fuck these guys, right? So finally, breaking, Turning Point USA is considering canceling the Super Bowl halftime show due to lack of interest and being unable to obtain a right-wing star large enough to draw a crowd. So Adam Sandler and these other people, I don't even know if any of these people are part of it. You mean Bob Seger isn't enough to, they're plummeting. The Turning Point is dead. It doesn't exist anymore as a viable, whatever it is. They don't have a person that can go out to the college campuses and do what Charlie Kirk did. They're fighting amongst themselves. They got this huge fucking issue about his death hanging over their heads and all these other things. So it's completely fucked. We know it. Right, I'm going to go through the Candace Owens thing to see if there's anything more, the Kid Rock thing. Okay, so I want to wrap this video up. I have I have to do my meditation video today too. And then this video will be up tomorrow morning. And so Candace Owens covers how the military-industrial complex has their hands in all these various people like Mr. Beast and all these other people. That all these people that pop, also Israel, right? But we all know that. Like we should all know that, the bigger channels, the bigger social media people all are propped up. They have to have like a benefactor. That not only do they have money that they can be pushed out there, but also the algorithm. Like the people control the algorithm and they say, hey, make this a priority channel. And so as soon as you go against what they want you to say, even if you're just a small channel, they're like, all right, the algorithm's going to be against you, right? But this thing with Mikey McCoy, so she covered this, I covered this, what Candace Owens said about this, that Pastor McCoy is kind of an acting piece of shit guy. We've seen him. And he's apparently ex-military as well. That's going to her. And, his son who runs TPUSA was there and was on the phone. And so this is what they said about it here.
And he loved partnering with organizations that truly stand for what makes America great. One of our most trusted partners, AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is doing something special in Charlie's honor. AMAC is offering free memberships to all ages. No credit card, no strings attached. just a chance to stand for faith, family, and freedom. Join this movement. Go
Yeah,
to
exactly. No strings attached at all. They're paying them to advertise this for no strings attached.
amac.us/Charlie today. That is amac.us/Charlie today. First, we got to do a little addressing of a video that went viral this weekend, and it's a video of Charlie's chief of staff. We made the decision that we wanted to address this head on because
You're not addressing it head on because they never show you the video. Right? Like, I mean, if they show the video, great, but they never do.
Candidly, there's so much intrigue, and I'm gonna do a generous thing. The intrigue is because people care about Charlie. Okay, so that part I understand.
You're more generous than I'd be.
Yes, and that's fine. And I am going to give you the.
He's this guy.
So that part I understand.
You're more generous than I'd be.
Yes.
I mean, you're more generous than I, because they're saying they don't care about Charlie. He just said they don't care about Charlie if they're asking questions about the official story. See, we now know from Candace Owens, which she's torpedoed her whole point of view, because we know from her and Charlie himself and all these other people that he was sheckled up, that he was taking hundreds of millions of dollars in shekels, and that he was being pressured by Israel because he was an Israeli shill. So he wasn't a good guy. He wasn't doing good work. He was working for Israel and against the American citizens, against the Christian people, against all these other people. We all know, and then he was promoting a genocide. So he's a piece of shit. And he was shackled up, and not because of his conscience, like he saw what was going on in Palestine, and he had a crisis of conscience. He realized he was losing his audience, so he's trying to back away just the slightest bit, and they hammered him. Because when you take $100 million from people who are worse than criminals, right? People who are fucking the demon, like devil fucking people, right? Who do genocides and manipulate governments and do evil shit. When you take that money and you're part of that thing, you don't get to walk away. Everyone knows you don't get to walk away from the mob or the cartels, and these people are worse than that, right? And so, he was fucked. And that's all it is. And there's nothing really more to see here. And so, aside from that, she says that they were supplied handlers as soon as they popped, because of course they were. And their handlers were put in place at TPUSA and hired this guy and this guy. So these are not Charlie Kirk friends. They're not his buddies. They weren't the people that he hired. They were put in place here. And when he became a problem, they were just like, well, I don't give a shit about that guy. And so they came in to do all these, and they're not truthers in any way, shape, or form. These are mainstream bean fucking counters. These are, two beta males sharing a testicle, right? They have low testosterone, and they don't believe in anything other than the official story, and they're pushing the official story. And since Charlie Kirk's been dead, they've had to come in and try to debunk things that look suspicious about their organization. They're getting no fucking views. They're getting under 20,000 views on pretty much every video. And now they have yet another weird thing that one of their staffers did. I mean, they have to come out and talk about that one guy, the audio guy. And they've already defended him for grabbing the cameras. And now Candace Owens has released the selfie. Now, this video was put up before Candace Owens covered this. So this is bad, right? And it's going to get worse because she's getting, almost 3 million views on that video. And they're getting 10,000 views on debunking it, right? Which shows you that they're fucked. But these guys are here just to kill any kind of conspiratorial ideas and push the official story, which will kill their whole thing, right? It's going to kill their whole movement because they're going to have to start firing people. Like, this is a channel that they can't even afford to pay 2 people, never mind fucking 450. I mean, if they're getting the money off the YouTube channel, plus if their halftime show is going kaput, right? If their alternative halftime show isn't showing up, then they're fucked, right?
And that's fine. And I am going to give you the floor here now, Blake, because you were there and you actually interacted with Mikey. You were with Mikey. You left the scene and then
Mikey
connected with Mikey. So explain what the video is.
All right, I'm not going to
set the scene.
I'm not going to wow.
Show the video. It's like you got to show the video. If you don't show the video, you look guilty as fuck.
At length, but people have It's gone viral, and people have asked us to address it, and
Yep.
we're going to do so briefly. The video, without going way into it, is by, I can't even remember the guy's name. Someone made a video that is attacking Mikey, Charlie's friend, Charlie's chief of staff, a guy all of us know, a guy who we've seen on the show here the last few weeks. They are attacking him, claiming, based on a few seconds of clips, that he allegedly has like a nonchalant or calm reaction to Charlie's murder. And I'm just going to be blunt about this. This
Be
is
blunt. Be blunt. What's that guy's name?
a extremely disgusting attack. And I can
It's
speak
disgusting. How dare you say such things?
to that because I was there when it happened and I was next to Mikey when it happened. And what I can say is, I can't say every single thing that happened, but I want to talk about this
Balake.
specific narrow thing. That the shooting occurs. I am next to Mikey. Both of us hear a loud crack. We both turn. We both see Charlie, who has been shot. Both of us, I think at about the same time, realize that that means there is
Our plan's been successful.
shooter who is on the scene. And, you know, you just hear the crack, so you don't know, did it come from far away? Did it come from close? Is there a mass shooter unfolding right now? So I and him both had the reaction of, let's get out of here before we're both shot. That is not us abandoning Charlie. Charlie had a security team. They all leapt immediately into action, and they got Charlie out of there, which was what their job was to do. My job was not to get in the way and screw this up because, like, I had to be a hero.
Yeah, because I'm so masculine with all my testosterone.
Was not my job. I remember even running past, both of us going past the SUV that we came in on, and me thinking, should I get in that car? And then thinking, no, that's a really stupid thing to do. And then I kept going. So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been
Wait,
more
did you do a selfie? Did you do a selfie reaction video?
than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy.
He's pretty bubbly, Mikey.
Very happy guy almost all of the time. And
they got this "don't tread on me" thing back there and all this patriotic shit. The majority of people that believe in Charlie Kirk are what they would call conspiracy theorists. And people who don't believe the official story, don't think Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, don't believe that all these things are, or the organic single shooter, not just of Charlie Kirk, but other stories, right? They don't trust the government. They don't trust the media. And so when you come in like fucking, it's disgusting that these people are saying this. Well, you're telling these people what, not just this, but all the other things they believe, they should just believe the official story. And if you guys weren't acting so fucking weird, there wasn't so many anomalies and things, then this would be an issue, right? They've already had to do this numerous times because the official story is not believable. And you guys running away from that just makes you look more and more, you have to be complicit. You have to be a part of it, right? So this makes it more of a conspiracy. That's why guys are fucking tanking. Like, they don't even have a show anymore.
I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I'd never seen before.
His lip was quivering.
And you very rarely see from someone that he was freaking out. And then
quivering lips. You guys are not believable, right? He had quivering lips.
I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erika. And
okay, so you might be imagining this, but you think he said it? You might be imagining this. So why would you even say something? Like, you're upset at people for drawing conclusions about suspicious behavior in videos, that they would even question his integrity, because he's Charlie's best friend. And Charlie loved this guy. He's a guy who would never do anything wrong. How dare you question this guy? But you're going to say you imagined something and put it out there as part of the story? I don't know if I heard this or not. I might have imagined it. But I think he said, I got to call Erika and tell her to hide the photos.
then he takes his phone, and he begins calling Erika. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. This, your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of it.
But he was on the phone, and when they tried to explain, so the guy, you saw the video, I showed it 2 videos ago, that Candace Owens covered it. And the guy, he immediately is on the phone within 0.8 seconds, so he didn't have time to call her. And they have an unbelievable explanation for it coming up here.
Of this occurring. I remember he calls Erika. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around
this is your gay son, Blake. Balake.
I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy, and he says, Dad, someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit.
Okay, so that's Rob McCoy's story. Pastor Rob McCoy, who was trying to sponge in on this and say that he was part of the succession plan. And Rob McCoy is Charlie's pastor, and there's 2 other guys that are part of that. His 2 sons that are part of the organization. And he said his son called him immediately to say to pray for Charlie. And that's what he was saying. So they have a little bit of conflicting story. But, it still doesn't explain shit. But their whole vibe is, how dare you ever question our integrity, and you guys fucking suck. When you guys went away and just accepted the lone shooter's narrative that nobody else thinks is kosher, you guys are like fucking, we know you're sheckling it up, right?
We need everyone to pray right now. And
how'd that go? How'd those prayers go?
That's what he told him. And I guess it's very disgusting for me as someone who witnessed.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Like when they start calling you disgusting for questioning them, that's when they're fucking complete, shills and taddlers and pieces of shit. Like, it's not disgusting to question the official story. It's not. So, we don't know this guy, right? And just because you guys say so, who gives a fuck what you say, right?
Who saw Mikey hugely distressed and then step up in the moment, because after that call was over, I saw Mikey get total mastery of himself, that he realized he had to step up in this situation. And
he stopped quivering his lip.
From that point, he was like a general directing a battle, where he was, grabbing people and saying,
or like a guy directing an op, one of the 2 things.
Hey, we need to get to the hospital, and we need to do these things, and you guys need to wait here. I need to get in here to get information so that I can get it to Erika. And when we learned he was dead, he came out and he told us, and then he says, now none of you can say anything that you've heard, because Erika is not going to hear about this from anyone except me.
Can I ask a question? I've just been thrown into this 10 minutes ago, but there's a suggestion online that Mikey, Charlie's chief of staff, one of the most sincere people you'd ever meet, brilliant, Christian, kind, everyone he ever met in his entire life, couldn't hurt a fly.
Just the best guy. He's just the fucking best guy in the world.
It's part of a conspircy to murder Charlie. That's what's going on.
Yeah. It's vile. It's utterly
fucking vile. Vile.
Who would do this? What type of individual? Just to create content, do we think? Or is there what's the ulterior?
I don't know. I think a lot of this mindset just sort of fuels itself. It's sort of addictive in the same way a lot of social media stuff is addictive, or in the way honestly, something like pornography is addictive.
Like gay porn. Like, how you can't stop watching gay porn. Yeah, I know. Guys, I know about. Yeah, I know about that too. I don't know what it is, right? I know we're good Christian heterosexual men, but we just all like. They just all like gay porn.
Or something like they get really they almost get a high off of the idea of that they're doing something that's daring or out there.
Yeah, and I just want to.
It's not that at all. We don't believe fucking this official story anymore. That's and we don't believe you guys because you're fucking horrible, and you're unbelievable. You're not believable at all. You're not unbelievable. You're not believable.
I want to make one other point though, and this is actually to your point. You saw Mikey do heroic things that day. I saw Mikey do heroic things. I was not on site, but I immediately flew to Utah. We got a plane. I mean, it's not something that I'm used to, but it was like my wife went with me. We went straight over. I knew I needed to be with Erika and the team immediately just because,
because my wife was catching on.
I just knew. But that moment when I got the news, I was so shell-shocked. I was not even there, but I was immediately traumatized. My brain fries like an egg. I can't see straight.
I can't see straight. My brain's frying like an egg. I'm shell-shocked. Like, I can't even tell you. I pooped myself. It was just, I couldn't, I don't know what I could do.
I can't think straight. All I knew is that, like, what's happening? My wife came in. She, like, hugged me. We started crying together.
You got to break up with Erika.
and I can't even remember those moments very clearly. I wasn't even there. Mikey was two
Mikey's
steps
talked
away,
about that.
And I asked him, I was like, do you even remember the moments after? He's like, I can't even really remember.
I can't even remember, but I know I didn't do anything suspicious. I just was wandering around. I was immediately on the fucking phone. I know I'm even immediately on the phone.
Oh, I called Erika. I know I called my wife. I know I called my dad. I can't even really remember the steps I took. I can't.
I just can't. I was in total shock. I ran off the stage when my phone was immediately next to my ear when I didn't have time to dial, and I was talking to somebody. I don't remember who.
This is the last thing I want to make a point of. And Charlie had given me similar instructions along the years. Said, if anything ever happens to me, you call Erika.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. And he drilled that.
That's it. He drilled it. He was drilling me from behind. He was talking about calling Erika
into Mikey's brain, so that when this moment of trauma happened, that he turned around and he knew he had to do it. And by the way, last thing.
So he turned around and had to do it. He ran off the stage and he came off of the other side. You guys saw the video. He's already talking to somebody. And Candace Owens did the clock on it. It's 0.8 seconds. It's not even a full second. He's already talking to somebody, which would have meant that, he was talking to somebody before. They show him talking to somebody a minute before, and he just must have left the phone on, and they're listening to the event, the person on the other end, which would suggest it's some sort of, op.
Because this is part of the video allegations here, is that they think they're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around, and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I, but this is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud, and he was so shell-shocked, he put his fingers in his ear. But
holy shit. Are you fucking shitting me, bro? Is that what your story is? He put his
phone was still in his hand. He walks away, and
not even walk. I want to, because people are talking about that. The way it was is we had a cordoned off area with grates.
Okay, so it was so loud. He put his fingers in his ear, and it just made it look like the phone was. Put your fingers in the ear and hold the phone. Try to do that right now. Hold the phone right now. And put your finger. I'm doing it right now. Pick up your phone if it's near you. Put your index finger in while holding the phone, and see if it looks like the phone's next to your ear. Like, do it right now, because I'm doing it right now, and the phone is hitting my earlobe. It's below my ear, so there's no way to do it and make it look like if he put his thumb in his ear. Is that what he's trying to say? Maybe if they put his thumb in his ear, it would kind of almost look like that. But I thought he was shocked and he couldn't remember any events, but he remembered putting his fingers in his ear. Now that I think about it, I put my thumb in my ear, which would be a weird thing. It would be your index finger, because it's so fucking loud. I just couldn't deal with the noise. Like, holy shit.
So you had controlled access. All the people, when this happens, they all get the idea we should leave before we are shot. And so there's a little narrow gap that I think people, it's not really walking, it's that everyone has to slow up to get through this little narrow choke point to get out of the area. And
did somebody say choke point?
Anyways, well, the point is he walks briskly. I don't even care.
He's a brisk walker. All 4 of us are brisk walkers. We like to do things briskly. We're pretty brisk around here.
If he's walking, running, whatever. Because, again, the most traumatic thing you could imagine had just happened to him. My brain fried. I cannot imagine what was going through your guys' head being on the scene.
Okay, yeah, but you know what? So then it becomes a thing as, do we believe that you guys are on the up and up? Right? Do we believe that there's any kind of questions to your behavior in your organization? You guys already pushed for a genocide. You took hundreds of millions of dollars of shekels. Charlie Kirk was going away from that, and he posted a few things, said some things in a private chat, and then he put out a statement. He wanted to do an internal investigation of a bunch of people that were hired not by him. You guys weren't his people. Mikey McCoy wasn't his person. He was hired by somebody else who seems to be, it's lied numerous times. And so, of course, people have the right to be suspicious. You guys are fucking doing suspicious shit. And sticking his fingers in his ear and somehow making it look like his phone was there, it's not the case, right? That doesn't make any sense. And especially for a guy whose brain was fried.
And seeing it and knowing, again, the security guys are jumping in. He turns and I'm telling you, Mikey that day turned into a general on a field, marshaling the troops going. But like for a second there, obviously he didn't know what to do. And then he clicked into gear eventually. It was amazing.
Mikey
was amazing.
A heroic figure on that day. And I really want anyone who finds like these narratives attacking him to be remotely credible to really, really stop and think about what you are doing. Because
exactly. You piece of shit. How dare you question TPUSA and Mikey McCoy and us three gay dudes on the stage here. How dare you fucking question us?
What you are doing is bad, and it is gross, and it is a choice.
And it's a choice of bad and gross. Just stop it. Just stop it, you guys. Stop it. Just fucking stop it, you guys. Knock it off. Fucking knock it off, you guys. And so... it's me, Blake Neff. Just stop it, you guys. Just stop it. Let's knock it off. It's a choice, you guys. And so, holy shit, man, this is hilarious. So their normal views, this one got 89,000 views. The one after it, Libs Freak Out Over Trump Making the White House Better, 4,000 views. Charlie Kirk 3-0 against loud and wrong college leftists. Even his videos, Charlie Kirk, there's the video with him, he's going to get 8,000 views, right? 6,000 views, 22,000 views, 16,000 views. So the only thing with any substantial views is this one, the debunking, right? Charlie Kirk with this girl here. Charlie Kirk legendary takedown of Shut Up, I'm Talking Girl. 94,000 views. So those are the, and these other ones are being propped up, right? And so here is the comments. Could someone please answer? Well, not that one. With friends like you guys, Charlie didn't need enemies. Disgusting. This got 300 likes. This comment section gives me faith in humanity. Classic. Believe everything you're told and nothing you see. Rhetoric going on here. So these are all negative comments. An image says more than 1,000 words, so horseshit and bullshit coming out of these idiots. They're all in the game, but we ain't buying it. The only hero that day was Charlie. Selfie Boy was not one of them. This channel feels so dark and depressing without Charlie. The energy isn't good. No one with a brain is buying this BS these jerks are peddling. I feel differently right now. If you'd come out and said that you were viewing the video in question, if they showed you the video. I feel different right now if you come out and said that after viewing the video in question. You understand why people have questions and concerns. Coming out firing insults just makes you look worse. So TPUSA comments on this but doesn't comment on how poorly the investigation is being handled. Telling. Oh dear, someone is trying real hard not to address this weird shit. Comparison of seeking the truth to porn is wild and overreaching. Guilty as fuck. Total cover-up. Traitors. Truth will prevail. Like all these fucking comments, right? So they get, a lot more views than their normal piece of shit videos. This channel is fucking done, right? They're still shilling with this fucking shekel fucking shit they're doing here and whatever. But it's not fucking working. Read your fucking comment sections. Erika and this guy were talking how they would read every email that they got. They're getting email after email saying that the fucking story is bullshit. You have to honor your audience. So why aren't you? I mean, there's, Charlie was starting to decouple from Israel, de-shekel from Israel, from his, Israeli lobby and Israeli support because he was losing his audience and they were bullying him. And so if he was doing that, respecting his audience because you have to, he was worried about losing his audience. Then why aren't you guys worried about losing your audience, right? Why aren't you guys doing something different? I mean, because you're fucked, right? You're fucked in the head. So anyways, let's get into the comment section. Okay, before we get to the comments, I just wanted to say one thing about these guys. I'm not making fun of them because they're gay. You know, these guys on Turning Point USA. It's because they're Christian and they're married and they're very effeminate and they're beta males. You know, they have these patriots that are big tough guys, you know, manly men. I mean, that's when you have these effeminate liberal men, it's not nearly as funny, and it's not, you know, worth it to make fun of them because that's who they want to be, right? They're metrosexual, they're whatever they are. Someone like Don Lemons, who's openly gay, you know, I don't make fun of that because, you know, that's what he's not denying it. That's who he is, right? I make fun of him when he pretends to be smart or he pretends to be alternative media and when he claims his content is good, just like these clowns, right? When they pretend their content is good. But when you have these guys who are Christian, there's nothing funnier than Christian guys who are really gay. There's a couple guys that came into one of the treatment centers. You know, it was a Catholic treatment center. There's a guy named Spiritual Bob. Spiritual Bob had blonde hair and he sung. He was a singer. And he sang Christian tunes. And his friend's name was like Rob or Eric or something. And he was enamored with Bob and he played the guitar. And we all would crack up because they were both so gay and they were Christian, and they trigger the kids because the kids were, you know, homophobic and they had been sexually abused, so there was a whole thing for them. And so it's something really funny when you have these guys who are supposed to be right wing Republican, you know, Second Amendment patriot, tough guys, and married, and they're really effeminate. You know, I call these two guys Blake and Andrew. Two beta males sharing one testicle because they have low testosterone. And that's funny. And the other thing that's funny is they just suck at their job. I mean, whatever reason that they're taking this position to mock people who are so-called conspiracy theorists and call them names and make it the equivalent to watching porn and say stupid shit like that, when you're only getting 10,000 views, you know, you have a business to run. They have 450 employees there. It's like a $22 million budget. And so you have to consider your fans, you have to have an audience, and you have to consider your donors and all that shit, right? You just can't run your mouth and, you know, make fun of a whole, you know, basically 80% or 90% of your followers who are all saying the Charlie Kirk assassination is fake as fuck. You have to lean into that. And if you don't lean into that, that means that you're completely owned and you don't care about destroying that business or firing all the employees. You know, and Erika Kirk is a big part of that. By forgiving the patsy, right? You never forgive the patsy. You know, the title of this video is going to be Handlers, Shills, and Shekels. At least in partly. But, you know, this is what we're talking about. Like, just not being sincere or authentic to who you're pretending to be. And so, if they were that way, then the show wouldn't be doing so badly. They're literally telling their audience they're full of shit, and they're wondering why they can't bring any viewers in. Anyways, let's get into the comments that I wanted to cover here. Okay, Tuesday, October 28th. Just briefly want to answer this comment while it's fresh in my mind because, you know, that's how I do. So this person wrote this to Trump admits he is more shackled than Charlie and Erika. Candace goes full something. And so this person wrote this. You seem to have a foundational misunderstanding of what it means by Jesus being God's only begotten Son. Yes, we are all God's children, but we are all born of human male seed. You seriously gonna bring this to me? Like, are you that fucking clueless? This person ended up writing a second comment, which I banned him before I realized I saw it going just as I hit the ban button. But he said he started off that no, it's the end of this one, so it's good. I'll finish the comment with that. Jesus is the only one born of asexually. Everything Jesus said would be happening down to the state of Israel being the synagogue of Satan is manifest in our world today. Trump isn't just a bad hombre. He's biblically a man of sin. The only way of us to get to heaven is through the grace of God. We all fall short because we are all sinners. The soul is eternal and it has to go somewhere once it leaves our physical body. The purpose of life we're given is to see which souls are deserving of the eternal reward, because we didn't just seek earthly pleasure like so many live for our lives. You're so close, Polly. You're almost there. You condescending fuck, right? The Immaculate Conception, there's a story of Karna and the 5 Pandavas from the Mahabharata. Now, when I was looking to see like the timelines of religions, it said Hinduism was 5,000 years ago and Judaism was 5,000 years ago, but Judaism was somehow older. And I was like, holy shit, they really warped this fucking bullshit, that they were saying Judaism is older than Hinduism. Because the Mahabharata happened 5,000 years ago, and that was before Judaism and these other religions. And before that was the Ramayana, and before that was the Vedas and some of these other teachings that make up the religion that people know as Hinduism, right? And so there is this meme out there about Horus, I believe it's about Horus, and it shows you the story of Horus and how many of the teachings, many of the stories of many of the things, let me just go find the meme. Here it is. So it says, story written down 2,000 years ago, story written 5,000 years ago. Born of Mary, born of Isis, birthday is celebrated on 25th of December, birthday is celebrated on 25th of December. Northern Star had led men to him when he was born. Eastern Star led 3 wise men to him when he was born. Taken to Egypt to escape the wrath of Herod. Taken to Egypt to escape the wrath of Typhon. Taught in the temple as a child. Baptized by John the Baptist at 30, had 12 disciples. Baptized by Anup the baptizer at 30, had 12 disciples. Performed miracles and walked on water. You get the idea. Raised Lazarus from the dead. Raised El Arzuris from the dead. Was transformed on the mount. Transfigured on the mount. And so there's other stuff here, right? Both were crucified and resurrected from a tomb. And so, I don't know anything about Horus, but that's something that's been around for a while. But I do know about the Mahabharata, and this was a story that was more than 5,000 years old. And, in this story, there was a woman named Kunti who was given a mantra where she could call divine beings to her. And she had one child before she was married that she sent down the river in a basket, much like the Moses story. This predated Moses. She called the sun god, the deity behind the spiritual being behind the sun. Like all these planets and all these, everything has a spiritual essence to it, right? And he impregnated her through this mantra that she was able to do. And then she got married, and her husband couldn't perform sexually because he had been cursed. So she had 3 boys, 3 sons through these different gods, right, that she called to her. And then he took a second wife, and she had 2 kids, I think they were twins, and through the same process. So this idea of Immaculate Conception actually predates Jesus. And so there's other stories with Immaculate Conception, but this is one of them in the Mahabharata. And so you can say, well, that one's bullshit, but ours is true, right? But it existed long before Jesus. This is not something new. They didn't copy you, you copied them. I've talked about how the soul originally was discovered in ancient India. They had an understanding about the soul before anybody else. And again, there are things in what I do, the Sajmarg meditation, that I've experienced. And I've had some kind of, there's teachings and things that I've had some validation for, that I've had personal experience through meditation of those things. And so there are other things that I haven't. And I trust in the system, and I trust the people, in the system, the masters, because other things have been verified or validated. And, and they're really not all that important. But you guys don't have any of that in Christianity. A lot of what you have is just copied from other religions. It's a 2,000-year-old book with a lot of bullshit in there, and the Old Testament's just sucky. And so, you know, I don't give a shit what you do. Like, it's not my problem. Like, I can't make people do my thing, and I wouldn't want to if I could. I'm not. There's no force that can be used in spirituality. People have to choose it. And you know, even his disciples didn't choose it. Like, his disciples weren't. I mean, they all had some spiritual tendencies. They weren't unspiritual. They just didn't go in as much as Jesus did. They didn't get as much as he did. And even if they did, it was lost after them. You know, there's St. Paul, and there's, you know, some people that came afterwards. And there's been the occasional Christian saint. But most of the people didn't embrace the higher nature that Jesus was representing. And Jesus was, you know, a lower level saint, right? And if you've been told a bunch of bullshit your whole life, and you buy into that bullshit, you know, a story, and some of it's true, some of it you feel good about, some of it, you know, you do feel some connection to God, great. You know, that's wonderful. I'm not, you know, downplaying everyone's personal connection to God that they get through some sort of spiritual practice or religion or yoga or something like that, or just being out in nature, and people have their own way, and that's between you and God. And, you know, I hope that people have something no matter what. Like, I just, you know, no matter if they don't do my thing, then I hope they find something, right? I'd rather have people do something than not do anything at all. But, you know, there's so much bullshit that's come from Christianity. The Crusades, all these things. I talked about this in another video. And so to say that I'm not getting it, like, you're just silly. It's a silly little thing because you've never looked beyond your small little thing that you do that's full of appropriated, you know, plagiarism and other shit that's not even a part of your true story. And, you know, to have this idea that the soul's eternal. The soul is what is divine, right? And, you know, the Christians don't want to admit that there's reincarnation because they can't hold you, they can't hold on to you if you realize that you're going to have a future life. You have to have a one-off. You're either going to heaven or you're going to hell. You know, it's a silly little fucking, it's silly. That your soul existed before you were here, and that the knowledge of the soul that was in other places, that was pure knowledge of the soul in other religions and other, you know, forms of spiritual practice, they all know that, right? It's only you guys who've changed the story because you want to control people. You want to have the heaven or hell thing hanging over people, and that you're you're the gatekeepers to heaven. And it, you know, if you look at what the Christian religion has shit out in terms of cultures and countries and indoctrination and genocides and all that bullshit, you know, there's nothing godly about it, right? It's a fail. You have good material people who are good at war, people who are good at conquering shit, people who are good at inventing things, people good with technology, people good at physical things, people are good athletes, good whatever. We have great civilization. You've created it's great at being material, but shitty at being spiritual. Because there's very little spirituality in Christianity at all. And it's just there. The results are right in fucking front of you. And it's not my fault if you can't see it, but don't come here with your bullshit because, you know, it doesn't belong here. You got plenty of places to go. You guys dominate the fucking internet in terms of religions and these other things. Certainly in America, you got plenty of people who are Christian who have YouTube channels. Go to them, right? Like, why do you think my channel's better than their channel? Like, why do you think I know more than they do? Because I have a better system. It's not me. I'm a piece of shit, but I have a better system. I'm connected to a better system. If I was a Christian, I'd have a shitty channel and I wouldn't have the insights I have. I wouldn't have the content I have because I would be doing a shitty system. And I'm kind of a slacker and I couldn't compete with the other Christians. But my channel's better than theirs because I have access to higher level consciousness, through I guess in past lives I've worked in some way to deserve that, right? To be able to find it and embrace it. But it's a blessing for me and I don't take it for granted. But anyways, let's move on to the other stuff here. Okay, just want to wrap up this video here. Got some things to talk about, spiritual comments to answer, but I want to get back to this comment from yesterday. Here it is here. This guy said this thing here, that you have You have a foundational misunderstand what it means by Jesus being God's only begotten Son. Yes, we are all God's children, but we are all born of human male seed. Jesus was the only one born asexually. And then he said something here. The only way for us to heaven is through the grace of God. We all fall short because we are all sinners. The soul is eternal. It has to go somewhere once it leaves our physical bodies. And so the problem with that is, there's various bullet points that I wanted to go through that I didn't get to when I answered this comment before. But if the soul's eternal, then it began at the beginning of time. And so if you are going to be, honest about your belief system, then if you hear some news that goes outside your indoctrination, like you hear from me that the soul was discovered in ancient India and it was called the Atman, which is a much better word. Soul is a good word, but Atman's a better word, from Sanskrit. And it was somewhere between 80 and 100,000 years ago or something. There was higher developed beings here that knew about the soul as well, a different human race, but that's, in terms of the human beings that are here now, the discovery of the soul. So, there's a point in time where human beings realized they had a soul. Like animals don't realize they have a soul, right? And so I would assume that's the case for all animals. They haven't gained that level of sort of thinking consciousness and understanding that there is a spiritual essence behind your physical body. And lots of people don't understand that. There's lots of people don't realize they have a soul. And so there was more knowledge in the Indian tradition, the what people called Hinduism, the Vedas, and the various forms of yoga. When people think of yoga, they think of yogic postures. That is Hatha yoga, which was only done because these guys were meditating 20 hours a day, 18 hours a day. And they weren't doing any physical work. They were just meditating, and which is not a good situation. You have to have your physical life as well. But their bodies were atrophying because they weren't using them. And so one of them, or some of these yogic people who are meditating, were given these postures that they could sit and meditate in these postures, and that way it would keep their physical body going, because they were like basically exercising while they were meditating. And so that's why these postures are good physically, but they have nothing to do with spirituality. Yoga means to gain union, yoke your soul to the divinity within you, or to God, yoke your soul to God, right? So this, yoga is about that, the process of finding God. And there's so much literature and understanding of the soul and spirituality in the Indian tradition, and nothing in the Christian tradition. And if you think that the remedial, horrible Old Testament, like if you look at the Old Testament objectively, and that's how I saw it, right, years and years ago, I used to like the Old Testament better than the New Testament when I was a kid, because the Old Testament had stories. I watched Charlton Heston and the Moses movie every year. Like, I was into that movie. I really liked that movie. I like Charlton Heston films. He made a lot of science fiction films. But I watched the Moses was like a 2-part movie. They show it on 2 nights. Right? When I was a kid, it was like a 4-hour movie or some shit like that with commercials. And I watched it every year, and I liked the Old Testament. But then years later, when my ex was homeschooling our kids, she was reading the Old Testament to them. We were teaching our kids the various religions. And I sat in, and we couldn't believe how fucking bad God was. My kids had a completely different understanding of God because they didn't grow up in those shitty religions, right? And, it still didn't help them. But, they got that at least, right? And when we read about it, we could tell that it was just, God was horrible. Like, it wasn't God whatever they call God in the Old Testament isn't God. And if you're reading it from the outside in, and when you're, or you escape from the indoctrination for a little bit, you'll be able to see that. And, and I'm not trying to sell this to people, but it's just there to be seen. That the people in Israel, the Jewish people, did not discover the soul. There's no soul stuff in the book. It's a very unspiritual book. And so Jesus, more than likely, I mean, I'm sure he went to India. There's evidence that he went to India, and that's where he learned about all these things. But in terms of soul knowledge, India has the most, and they believe in reincarnation, which is the most likely the most reasonable assessment, because there's nothing is a one-off. You're given how many chances in your life. You'll see an alcoholic. How many times does an alcoholic get a chance to get sober? In a 50-year period, how many times do you think an alcoholic has opportunities to get sober? I mean, every time they drink is an opportunity to not drink, right? I mean, we all get do-overs. We all get second chances. We all get all these things in one life alone. So, of course, there's more than one life. But if you believe a soul's eternal, and then you hear this, this is the teachings of the Christian tradition, but then they tell you this bullshit thing that the body creates, the God breathes the soul into the body, that your soul's created when you're born, is stupid. Because they don't want you to know that you came from somewhere else. They knew that reincarnation's a real thing, because Jesus believed in it. In the Nag Hammadi text, the one that was from Mary Magdalene, the Gnostic Gospels, Jesus talks about reincarnation in other places. So it's in multiple different texts. Of course he believed it, because it's true, right? But they don't want you to believe that, because that fucks their whole thing up. If they realize that if you realize there's past lives and future lives, then you're not worried about heaven and hell. And that's what they're trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you heaven and hell. So those are like totally valid points for anybody who's like looking into this, with some open-mindedness. And I don't give a shit if you're into Christianity and you're never going to change, because that's fine. Just don't come here and run your shit on my channel. I don't want to hear your bullshit. I already know it, right? I know your bullshit, right? And so I know your bullshit better than you know it. So fucking you don't need to tell me it. And so I know what you believe, right? And so if the soul's eternal, then the soul was created at the beginning of time. And your soul goes through various forms, physical forms and spiritual forms, sometimes in a body, sometimes not. And it exists in your body and in another realm at the same time. And when you sleep, your soul goes elsewhere. People have, outer body experiences. Your soul goes to other realms of existence. Your soul isn't even in your physical body. It is, your physical body is animated by your soul, but your soul resides somewhere else. So you have this gateway to heaven inside of you where your soul is. Your soul is in the etheric world. So with that in mind, let's move to the other comment, because these things are all connected unintentionally. And so, hi, Paul. I'm not sure if you mentioned it before, but I probably missed it. I remember in the older videos, I thought you used to call it heartfulness meditation instead of gratefulness meditation. Or am I misremembering? If this is so, I was just wondering why you changed the type of meditation. Apologies if you misremembered, and it is always gratefulness. I'm not sure, so I figured I'd ask because I'm curious. So this person missed the the whole debacle, heartfulness debacle. So in the Sajmark tradition, there were four masters. Lalaji, he had about 200 different people that would come to his house and get trained in terms of meditation. And then his successor was Babaji. Both of them were named Ramchandra. And Babaji was, this humble man, and he created the organization called the Sri Ramchandra Mission. And there was about 5,000 to 10,000 people that did the meditation. He came to America a couple times. Americans came to see him. He went to Europe a couple of times. He went to America and Europe twice on 2 trips. And he took with his disciple, Master Charji, who was the third master of the system. Charji was a CEO of a company. He spoke many languages, was a very gifted person on the material level and also spiritually. He was St. Paul in a past life. And he grew the mission. He was just great at it. He was great at connecting people and just networking. He was just great at all that shit. He micromanaged the system, which, I wasn't always such a fan of. But like later on, I realized why he did it, because people just suck, right? And then when he died, right before he died, he created his successor, who was this guy Kamlesh Patel, who was Daji. And I was, I always thought Daji was a great Abhyasi, great practitioner of the system. And I started to have bad experiences with him. fucking head scratching experiences. And I documented this in the Journey series. And eventually I realized that he was a piece of shit. He got involved with this this RSS organization, which was anti-Muslim, and it was an Indian paramilitary, right-wing paramilitary. I don't want to call it paramilitary because they walk around with sticks. Not what Americans would think of something like that, but they're an aggressive organization, and they have sort of a military. They're pro-Hindu. They're like white supremacists for India, and they're anti-Muslim, and it's not the thing that you should get involved with. He was part of this scam, the Brighter Minds scam, where kids. It's a scam that already existed in India, and my kids hung out with the kid. I knew the kid who told Dodgy about it, and Dodgy bought into it. It's where they put a blindfold on. The kids peek through the blindfold, but they pretend that they can, by doing a bunch of stupid exercises like rubbing their belly and tapping their head and rubbing their belly, or any number of those kind of goofy exercises, that they can rework their brain and use their brain to use different senses to see. So they can smell colors, and they can tap a Rubik's Cube and solve it from sound and stupid shit like that, right? Through the other senses, they can see objects. And it's not true. And, it was a whole scam. And some doctor who was an Indian, American-born Indian. He was an American citizen, but he was Indian descent, and he was a doctor. And he, amongst other people, were asked to validate this scam. And he did tests with blindfolds, and the kids all failed. And he heard about me, and he contacted me, and we had these conversations about it. And he knew Dodgy knew it was fake, and it was a whole fucking thing. And aside from that, his kids, they did this medley pharmacy thing, where the pharmacy was, they did an online pharmacy during COVID. Dodgy, Kamesh Patel, lived in America. He had 7 pharmacies in New York City. He was a millionaire. And he, Patels, they're known for being like rich. And his kids took over his pharmacies and merged them and created this medley pharmacy, and then they wanted to have online pharmacies that they would come deliver the pharmaceuticals to your house. And during COVID, that was a good idea. People were into it. And they got $170 million of investor money. And they had faked the earnings, right? So his sons are criminals. His one son is being indicted. United States, and this guy I call the Dodgy Truther, who I knew his wife. I was friends with him on Facebook, and I knew his wife. I met her. I met them both briefly. And this guy I call the Dodgy Truther, and he really dislikes Dodgy. And he was always sending me shit. He's running a sort of, like a Truther Dodgy thing. And today he just sent me this. It's an updated United States District Court, Eastern District of New York, Securities and Exchange Commission's plaintiff against Marg Patel, that's Dodgy's son, Kamesh Patel's son. And Kamesh should probably be a part of this, but he's not an American citizen. Robert Horowitz, I wonder what nationality he is, and Chitan Kumar Bhatt are the defendants. And the civil enforcement action presents an unsettled securities question amid a pile of more routine issues. In the operative amended complaint, the Securities and Exchange Commission brings security fraud claims against one ex-manager and 2 ex-executives, a now-defunct online pharmacy. It accuses the manager of falsifying sales data to artificially inflate the pharmacy's stated revenue, and accuses the 2 executives of raising capital with artificially inflated revenue. And so they scammed people at $170 million and absconded to India with it. And it's just a total fucking shit show, right? But aside from this, Dodgy's biggest crime is he took a giant shit on Master Chargy's legacy. In the master-disciple tradition in India, it is, there's nothing but gratitude. Like, I'm not, growing up American and I don't have a good relationship with authority. I'm a resistant to authority person, as you guys can probably figure out. And so I never loved the whole master thing. And the master isn't an authority in the sense of what people think. It's not like a slave master, but, I have nothing but gratitude and appreciation for everything that Master Chargy did for me. Like his if you're around a spiritual person, a higher developed soul, it's, everyone should have that experience in life. Not everybody's sensitive to it. Not everyone's going to get it. But it's just a wonderful fucking thing. I can't even explain it. And it was a real bummer when Master Chargy passed away. But we thought that we would get a quality successor in this guy Dodgy, and he turned out to be an absolute piece of shit. And so I made some videos about it. Dodgy watched some of them. I called him a little bitch. It was bad. There's people in India calling for my assassination. I mean, it was like, they get all riled up. But, so that's what happened to Heartfulness. So those of you who don't know. But, and I don't want to brag or take credit for something, but, what I was able to do was something, it really sucked that this happened. I mean, my whole, life is centered around the Sajmark system and the organization and gatherings and all these things. Those of you who watch my videos know about that. I mean, this was a real bummer. I'm not a social person, and this was my social system, my support system. I'm not, like I said, I'm not good socially, but, I mean, I had many people who were, I would call them friends, at least, positive acquaintances and people I look forward to seeing. These were my peers. This was my social system. And these motherfuckers all imploded. They know the same thing that I know. They saw the same shit I see. Some of them, aren't as informed. And most of them, and these were people much better than I was spiritually. Many of them more saintly, more committed to God, this kind of thing. And it was a real fucking bummer. And so the difference between me and this guy writing the comments is I was able to accept that this bad thing happened to my, one of the things that Babaji warned against, saying that there's a big difference between a religion and a spiritual organization. A spiritual system helps people to connect to God. A religion is very parasitic, and it acts as a buffer, a middleman between you and God. And Sajmarg, with the Heartfulness thing, it became a shitty religion. And hopefully there's some bounce back from it. And I've read some whispers of the brighter world recently about this. So there's that. So that's what happened with that. But going back to this thing, I'm not asking anybody to do what I haven't been able to do myself, right? And I'm not even asking people to do it. But if I can do it, other people can do it. You can look at your religion and see what's good and what's bad, and, admit to there's some bullshit in it, right? And that it's been compromised. Like the same thing happened to me, and my thing's the living system where I met the master of the system. Like I met Jesus, right? I hung out with Jesus. Like I was one of Jesus' disciples, right? I had an interaction with him. Like that's, I mean, and it's even on a higher level, because the masters of Sajmark system have reached higher levels of spirituality. And, I mean, you might not believe that, but I 100% believe that. And so, I mean, experiencing that the way it used to be and then seeing what it turned into, fucking, it's a bummer, right? Like, I mean, I'm not bummed now, and I kind of, I mean, not like at this moment. So there was, well, this is a funny one. I'll do this last. And so on my other channel, Gratefullness channel, about the Sajmarg Masters and the Practice, one of my viewers wrote, this may not be popular idea, but Paul, I feel like you are the logical next master of the system. Years ago when I first started listening, and I knew very little, that thought came to me, into my mind like a whisper. It was interesting. It might be logical to you all because you have not met anybody else that does the system. But the other people in the system would never have considered me a good candidate. And I know personally that I'm not a candidate for that because I don't have the commitment level. Like I don't have the commitment level to God, and I certainly don't have that to my fellow brothers and sisters. This is about all I can do in terms of, spiritual work. I mean, these talks and things and the gratefulness meditation, I'm pretty much maxed out. Like I don't want to be resentful towards people, and I don't want to get overwhelmed with the, bullshit that every other person like this gets involved with. And I don't think I have the capacity. I certainly don't have the character qualities. You need to be a certain kind of person to take over that job. And you have to be 100% committed and really selfless and 100% committed to working for God, which I'm not. I mean, and there's no reason for me not to be, but I just, So, you'd have to meet a real master to see the difference, right? Like, it's not, I know some things. I'm good at articulating things, and I'm good at being a conduit for some of this energy, certainly in the videos. But it's nothing like, if you had gotten the chance to spend time with Master Chargy, you would see the difference. Unfortunately, people aren't. But you're chosen by God, and that's the system. You're chosen by the higher developed beings that are watching over this planet and a part of the system and the previous master, and you're chosen by God. We don't choose. Like, we didn't get a vote. There's no election. It's not like some Pope bullshit thing or something like that, right? Like, the person's chosen by God, and thankfully for me, I wasn't, right? And thankfully for everybody else. Unfortunately, there's no one there, and that sucks, but there's nothing I can do about that. So this is a funny thing. I want to end with this. My mother's best friend was catfished by Kid Rock in air quotes, or in quotes, not air quotes. Kid Rock in air quotes, and lost her family, everything she owns, and $250,000 last year. She drove across the country. He drove across the country, airport to airport, waiting for him to pick her up on his pirate plane to go on tour with Trump and get married. People are so desperate to believe anything, but the truth in front of them. Holy shit! Like, I can understand you getting catfished, and I know how desperate people are, but your dream guy is Kid Rock. Like, you're gonna give everything away for Kid fucking Rock? That's scumbag, right? I mean, would you, like, I wouldn't even want to shake that guy's fucking hand, right? You're gonna let that guy mount you? But anyways, so, the punishment fit the crime. All right, let me wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.